What's going on, everybody? Onyx Spade here, and today welcome to another episode of Gaming Versus. Now today on Gaming Versus, we're going to be reviewing two games of the same franchise, and technically of the same name, and we're going to put a twist on it as well. You'll understand what the twist is when I start explaining. We're going to talk about Resident Evil. Now, I'm not talking about Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3, Resident Evil 4, or any of the other side stuff. I'm going to talk about the first Resident Evil. Now, here's where the twist comes in. We're going to talk about Resident Evil 1, as in the original Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil, the remake, which is technically still Resident Evil 1, and here's where the twist comes in. We're going to talk about Resident Evil 1, the movie. Okay. Now, you know this is going to be entertaining because I'm going to be mixing a movie up in here. So, let's get started talking about this. Okay. Basically, Resident Evil 1 has technically four main characters. Chris Redfield, Jill Valentine, Albert Wesker, and Barry Burton. Now, of course, we see the death of the many other STARS members that happens in the mansion. And it's completely infested with zombies. And depending on if you play as Jill or Chris, you'll run into your first zombie, which is basically eating the guts and intestines of one of your men. And all it shows is the side look of the side of the zombie's face. And basically, you're not only de-weeding plants, you're shooting zombie dogs, shooting zombies, killing some crimson heads, killing a giant snake, and then sooner or later a giant fucking tyrant. Same goes for Resident Evil the Remake, except they add a few things, Of course, the graphics are better, and they also add this thing called a dagger, which you can actually stab them in the side of the head with, and plus you can burn zombies alive so they don't come back as Crimson Heads. Now, to those of you that don't know what Crimson Heads are, they're basically zombies that rise again, and basically their head is like a dark orange or a darkish red, and they run at you. And they're actually far much more durable than a regular zombie. Now, then there's Resident Evil the movie, which basically follows the life of Mila Jovovich's character Alice, and the mansion is basically completely different than the games. Basically, the mansion is all a ruse, and there is a hive-type structure that's underneath the mansion. And you find out that the zombies are resurrected, and basically it's all about a fight for survival while Alice tries to get her memory back. Okay, so first off, let's start with the graphics. Okay, when it comes to a lot of this, we're not going to count the movie, of course, because it's live action versus actual, graphical type stuff. But actually, I think graphics-wise, we'll have to give it to the Resident Evil Remake. Because, for one, they played with shadows, they made things far much more realistic. And actually, to be honest with you, Resident Evil, the Remake, which of course can be out for GameCube, is better than the movie, and it's better than the original game. So, first point goes to Resident Evil Remake. Voice acting. Okay, I'm sorry, but a lot of the acting was terrible in the movie of Resident Evil 1, and of course it had nothing to do with the game whatsoever except for zombies. That's it. And the voice acting, everybody knows, was terrible in the original release of Resident Evil 1. But they seem to have done a really good job remaking the voice acting in the Resident Evil Remake. So we'll have to give this point to Resident Evil the Remake. Now, the storyline. Okay, basically the storyline for Resident Evil 1, the movie sucked, but so that's out of the question. Resident Evil 1, the original release, it was a really good storyline. It was one of the best of its time. But Resident Evil, the remake, took that up a notch. They actually added stuff to the storyline and plus made things a bit more understandable. So, next point goes to Resident Evil the Remake. Character development. Okay, the character development for the original release was so-so. It wasn't, like I said, it wasn't completely understood. But the more you played that game, the more you understood what was going on. Character development for the movie was completely terrible. Of course, the movie had nothing to do with the games. There was no Chris Redfield. There was no Albert Wesker. There was no Barry Burton. There was it was nothing. Okay, but honestly, the character development in Resident Evil the Remake was really good. Because they did really good with the voice acting, it helped with the character development in ways where you could actually feel for the characters. You could actually get startled in the remake versus in the original release where you kind of got timid, but you didn't exactly get a jump scare. So when it comes to character development, I would have to give that to Resident Evil the Remake. Now, why, Spade, did you bring the movie up into this gaming versus? But Spade, Resident Evil 1 was a movie. Why would you put that at a gaming versus? Because honestly, not only is it also considered Resident Evil 1 like the other two games, it's technically part of the same franchise. And to be honest with you, this is going off on a limb, but out of all the Resident Evil movies that were live action, Resident Evil 1 was the best out of all of them. The rest of them were complete utter shit. Not counting the animated movies. But this goes to show you that if a game is good, sometimes you should not turn it into a movie. And at the same time, some things should just stay a game. Because honestly, 9 times out of 10, the game is always going to be better than the movie. So in this case, Resident Evil Remake is an upgrade to the original release of Resident Evil. But the original release of Resident Evil is better than the movie. The movie was terrible. The movie was a complete abomination to what is Resident Evil. Because it didn't follow the original storyline from the games. So, which one really is better? Well, we know the movie is out of the question. Is the remake better than the original? Or does the original still live up to its glory? I think the original still lives up to its glory. But is Resident Evil Remake better? Maybe in an upgraded sense, it is better. But it's still the same game, just updated and upgraded. So to me, Resident Evil Remake will always be Resident Evil 1. Resident Evil 1 is technically the same as the original release. So technically, Resident Evil 1, the game, both versions are better than the movie. But I highly say that Resident Evil Remake is the perfected Resident Evil 1 game. So, this is Onyx Spade, and thank you for watching Gaming Versus. There will be another episode coming soon, and as always, I will see you in the next episode. Bye-bye!